What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. We got something cool to work on this week. This is a 98 Firebird formula, which is I guess technically the base model of all Trans Ams. It looks like a V6. It's got all the V6 bumpers technically and hood and stuff like that, but it is a V8 car. So little different about this car. The customer already did headers on it. He already did a 3-inch wide pipe. He already did exhaust, and he changed the wheels to the 17s off the WS6. So other than that, the car is extremely clean. I really like it. Navy metallic blue. Right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna head out just to get a baseline on the car. We want to get an idea of what it makes just the way it is. I know it's a little bit modified. It's not crazy modified. It just has headers and exhaust. And I think maybe a lid, an SLP lid, I believe. But we're going to see what kind of power it makes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a cam, intake, and we're just going to fix like the headlights and stuff like that. Just to see what it does. So we're going to do a before and after in this episode. And so car's pretty clean. Clean door panels, not a crack on it. Clean interior. Clean dashboard. Very nice. Customer takes a lot of pride in his car, so we appreciate that, because when we work on them, they are easy to work on because they're cleaner. So let me get the doors open and warm up the car and ready to go put it on the dyno. We're on the way. FYI, I know some people have questions or wonder, but I do get permission from the customers to drive the cars. I tell them where I'm going, what I'm going to do. This customer said, yeah, that's cool. Go get a baseline for the car. See what it makes before, and then we'll see what it makes after. So right now we're headed to Mission. From far, it's 20 minutes away, maybe less. But we'll get there with Josh's. He says he's already opened up a spot for me just to give us a baseline, and then we'll head back, let the car cool down, and start taking it apart and have it here probably by tomorrow morning. I'll have the car back on and running, and then I'll wait till probably Saturday morning to go dyno it, just to make sure everything else is okay. I don't like to rush it, but $268. Dang, 309. And it sounds like we got a little lifter knock, right? Sounds like a lifter.
Oh man.
Huh?
Sounds bad or
sounds bad. All right, we'll have to ask him to see if we can get some lifters. That's not good. Good thing we're taking it apart. How's the oil pressure?
40.
40, it's good. Yeah, probably just an old lifter. He doesn't drive the car much, so it's probably the first time it's been revved out like that. So I'll try to get some lifters here before I leave. So the car made 268 with 300 foot-pounds of torque. I don't know. It's kind of low, but then again, I mean, it's 98. Different fuel system, different injectors, different intake. It's got the LS1 intake. It's still got a small throttle body. So it's way lower than I expected, but I've never actually had a stock LS1 car on the dyno before. They've always been modified in some way or form. So, and I guess it also depends on the type of dyno that's used. I don't know what kind of, I don't know how they test them at factories or whatever, but I know this one, we're using a dyno jet. Some people use a Mustang dyno. There's all different types of dynos, and I've always heard they all give you different numbers. So 268, 300 foot-pounds on the dyno jet, and we're gonna continue using it because we got to get the same dyno to calculate the difference in horsepower we're gonna make between now and the intake cam swap. So let's head to the shop, let the car cool down, and we'll take it apart and see what kind of condition the motor's in, and just get it ready to come back in a day or so we can see what numbers we make. I'm not looking for crazy numbers, we're just trying to just look for sound and a difference. Go for it. Bending out the booster hose. These LS1s are extremely tight to pull. Here you go. It's going under. It's going under here. There we go. LS1s are extremely tight when you pull the intake. It's got a bunch of stuff in the way, but let's see here what we got. It's not bad. Kind of dirty, but not as bad as I've seen. I've seen way worse. So the stuff that you're seeing, this black stuff in the intake runner, is from the PCV system. Looks like the knock sensors have been replaced before. Pull this out the way. Pull this out the way. Well, that or it's just really clean because it's got 77,000 miles. But customer said that, man, this is actually really clean. This is not rusted at all. The coolant crossover pipe. The sensors back here are not dirty. So he said that they changed the oil pressure sensor a while back. So these intakes have a vacuum for the AC, a vacuum hose for the AC in the back. And then it has the cam sensor, and then it has the brake booster. But this is from the PCV. There is a little three-way. Where'd you put it? This thing right here. It's like a three-way PCV thing. It goes, this long one goes to the front of the intake on the side. That's what creates vacuum. This goes to a valve cover, and this goes to a valve cover. And you see there's a PCV valve there, and there's a PCV valve there. But this goes bad, and it just sucks up oil, and that's what we see inside the intakes. So most of the time when I pull the intakes off, you can see oil puddled up. And this one's kind of okay. I'm pretty sure if we stand it straight up, we'll get oil come out of the throttle body. So I'll leave it like that, see what kind of oil would come out. But the gaskets look okay. Yeah, definitely replaced. That's not an original gasket, but we're already to the point where we took the intake off. We already took off the cooling system. We took off a coil pack. We're tackling it little by little. A lot of the stuff is dirty, so we're also going to clean everything as much as we can. But right now we're going to work on pulling the radiator out, pulling the headers off, and then work on pulling the heads off. And then we'll pull the cam off and all that stuff. So let's keep going. Okay, so we got part of the, whoa, real tight. We got part of the front of the engine off. We don't need to take the alternator off, but we are going to degrease while everything's coming off. So he took the valve cover off. We're taking off head bolts on this side. We try to break them loose by hand first. One, because there's no space. Two, because it's an aluminum block, and these, I've seen where they break sometimes and other times they don't. It's never a clean process. It's never a pretty process. Taking apart these engines, it makes it look really bad, but we do them to clean them, make it look nice. So we also have to pay attention to stuff like this and get the whole engine bay cleaned up after the whole job's done. So we do a nice little detail. But I'm gonna take this head off. The valve cover area where the springs are at look pretty clean. It's not sludgy. There's no grime. There's no sludge. The push rods, where are the push rods? They're over here. Oh, here they are. Here are the push rods that came out of it. They're fair. They're clean. You can see a hole straight through. Let's see if I can get it on the camera. Where's the? See, you can see straight through. Clean. Good maintenance. This does show low mileage. This one is the same. Rocker arms are clean. So, also another sign of a good motor, good condition. So other than the dirty, probably leaking front seal and leaking valve cover issues, but we'll make this make it look brand new again. So we're gonna take this head off and see what hides underneath the head. Check out the pistons. Go for it. It's probably got those ugly head gaskets that I hate. Yeah, it does. It doesn't have multi-layer. Man, I hate that they come with these gaskets. It's like a paper gasket.
Wait, it has like a bolt.
It's the bracket. I already took it off. It's just hanging right here. That one. Is it the dipstick?
Yeah, dipstick.
All right, hold on.
Yeah, it's a dipstick.
Okay, yeah, let me unbolt it real quick. Take two. Lay it down there on the table. Okay, so unfortunately these have the ugly factory mesh head gasket, and in one of my previous videos I mentioned that I didn't know if these were factory or not. Paper Permatech gasket, and it is a pain in the ass to clean the head, like really bad. So look at this, it's just stuck on there like glue. It's not a gasket, it's like paper. I mean, it's a gasket, but it's not the multi-layer that we're used to, you know? See it? How it is? So, we'll spend a little bit more extra time, unfortunately, cleaning this up. But we got new lifters. I forgot about lifter trays. I gotta go get those tomorrow. We're gonna clean the head, change the springs, pull the cam out. This is the front. It's the factory cam sprocket, factory chain, factory oil pump. So I also forgot a cam retainer plate, so I got to get a cam retainer plate, and then I can put the new cam in after we pull the lifters out and everything. So we're gonna continue, and we'll get some footage of us pulling the old cam out and see what that looks like, and then we'll check out the cam bearings. They should be pretty good. It's got good oil pressure, so we'll go from there. Yeehaw!
I told him to cut my grass.
He's like, cut my grass, and he's pulling my cam out for me. Now we're gonna have to lift the condenser because it's gonna hit the condenser. Yeah, all right, let me lift it up for you. I gotta cut camera action. All right, so the condenser has to come up about practically all the way, and it's a stock cam, right? Yeah, it's a stock cam. So this is the whole, technically the whole job is halfway done. All the parts are out. The intake, the heads, the headers, everything that needs to come off the heads to do the cam swap and the lifter swap are off the engine. So right now we're gonna focus on just cleaning and assembling the heads and prepping the block for everything to go back on. Okay, where's the flashlight? Give me the flashlight. Okay. The cam bearings are okay. Very good, actually. So that's just oil. Keeps coming back to the bottom. So the cam bearing in the front is good. And I looked through the hole. They're pretty good all, let's see. They're pretty good all the way through, so I like it. If you guys have clean cars, low mileage cars, bring them over here. I like working on low mileage cars. I'm just kidding. You can work on everything. Okay, so we got a little parts list going on here, so we can start getting ready to assemble the motor. Right now, the heads are off. The motor is bare. There's no cam in it, so I'm gonna first put the cam in, put the new cam retainer plate, and then go ahead and line the sprockets back to top dead center, put the chain on, throw the cover, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put the lifters. I have them outside. They're Cam Motion new lifter trays, and then new head gaskets. And then after the new head gaskets, I'll go ahead and install the springs. They're pack springs on the heads, new springs on the heads, new valve seals. Where are they? New valve seals. And seal that up, and then go ahead and prep the heads so we can install the heads. Got new head bolts in here, and then got new valve cover gaskets, got new timing cover gasket. I think we have valve cover gaskets. I'll see. And then once the heads are on, I can go ahead and start working on assembling the intake. So he brought me LS2 rails for the fast intake. He brought me some injectors, FICs. These are LS1 Mini, 32 pounds for the intake. And then we got this. What's this? That's for the, I think it's for the LS2 rails. To install it on the fast intake. And then I gotta throw an alternator. He brought me an alternator. I gotta throw the new water pump. I gotta throw this fast 102 big mouth throttle body and the fast intake that he brought. So I gotta assemble that too. So I got a good amount of work ahead of me. I'm gonna skip the assembly part of this and some of the assembly for the head work, putting springs. If you guys want to see more detailed work on changing valve springs and stuff like that, let me know. But I'm trying to manage my time and record at the same time. So, and then he also brought some silicone hoses from Jegs, new crank bolt, new clamps, and then we got a new crossover because the factory one, the crossover goes under the intake and it does not fit the fast. So you have to block off the back ones and put this one in the front. But other than that, here's kind of like a quick rundown of the list, and let me go ahead and start working on the car some more, and then I'll jump back when I get some parts on. The cam's going in. These cams are hollow on the inside. Most of them are. So you can use a screwdriver. A lot of people put like water pump bolts, stuff like that. I just use a screwdriver for leverage, a long one. So you just go in smooth. I put some Lucas assembly grease. See, 29, nice and smooth. I put Lucas assembly grease. You can see it there running down a little bit. It's to get the the cam from having a dry start. So I'm put the cam retainer plate here, put the sprocket, line up the chain, take this cover off, clean the surface, take the gasket off, clean the surface for the water pump and put the timing cover on. And then the lifters go in with the new lifter trays, head gaskets, and we should be halfway there, technically. So it's the cam retainer plate that I use for pretty much everything. These work all the way up to LTs also. I changed them because of this O-ring that's right here. This one you can feel and see the ridge. And on the factory one, I threw it in this box. they get flat. So here you can't feel it anymore. It's completely flat. And that causes oil pressure issues where oil comes in here or the other side and it'll leak out like a little piece right here. I don't know if you see it, kind of creased. It'll leak out from spots like that. But it causes oil pressure issues. For what it costs, this thing is, I think, like $15 or $20 on Summit. And it comes with new bolts. Man, for the $20 job, for a $20 fix on this job, it's worth every penny. So every time I do a cam swap, and I recommend everybody that anytime they do a cam swap, replace the cam retainer plate because of the gasket. Okay, so I have the head assembled, and I wanted to just kind of show you guys. I know a lot of people are scared to do work themselves, but it's not as big as a deal you think. I ordered this online. It's a valve spring remover tool. It just bolts onto where the factory rocker arms go, like that, and then this sits over the spring. Oops. I'll just get another seat real quick just to show you. And it does two at a time, so you'll have both. You tighten this nut and it pushes down, and then you're able to get the little keepers out of the hole. So once that's done, you can remove this. Well, you don't have to remove it completely, but you can remove it, take the valve spring out. You got the retainer, the spring, and the keepers out. So what I want to show is valve seals. So these are the factory valve seals. The spring sits, it's a valve seal and a seat. The spring sits on the base. When you do dual springs, when you get aftermarket dual springs, you can't use these valve seals because this little hump that's right here, this little, actually, okay, so these heads have been worked on. So somebody already installed the O'Reilly style valve seals, but they look like this from factory. These are the aftermarket ones. The stock valve seals and the stock seat, you can't put a dual valve spring. You need this one, which allows the inner spring to clear this hump, and you're able to put this on. We're changing them because we're changing them. That's pretty much it. I like to use pliers. They're super easy. This one I got a little angle. Just kind of squeeze. And then you just kind of wiggle it. Just careful. Kind of wiggle it off. So these are not the original ones. The original ones come off like butter. These have been replaced. I'm assuming this engine had been worked on before at a machine shop. See, comes off. That's the O'Reilly style, and then you got the seat. Anytime now. There's the factory seat. So whenever you look at the factory ones, the OEM ones, they look like this already. So since these heads have been worked on, and I know they have because one of these has a stamp on the side from a machine shop, they usually stamp them. They put the ones that you get from the O'Reillys, they're just like $10 for $5 for these valve seals. So the factory one, you just real easy with some pliers. It doesn't matter what plier. This one's a little tough because they're pressed on. The other ones, they just kind of seal. You just grab it, pull. They come off extremely easy. We're not using these. We're using new valve seals. So we'll put these on. You don't have to clean the base or anything like that. And I like to use a socket that's bigger than the seat itself. That way I can just gently tap. So this socket is big enough Actually, it's not. Change the socket. This socket's big enough to clear. See how it sits all the way down? So all you do is just put it over. And there's nothing wrong with this at all. So you put it over and you give a little tap and you'll hear it. You'll hear it hit the head there. So right there I can feel it. It bottomed out. So there won't be any gap here. And that's that. So another thing is the valve spring. The reason we're changing valve springs is these are stock springs, different spring rate, different height, and we're changing them to pack springs. And everyone's like, oh, they look like the original springs that you're putting back on it. Looks like you're using the same spring. You know, the pack spring, as you can see, this is on my finger, is way taller. See that? Even if I go down, you can see where. So the pack spring is way taller, and the box tells you the specifications, but this will hold the 224R, which is at 600 lift. This is up to 615. I've used them up to 620 lift with no failure. After anything after 615, 605, 610, I like to use dual springs anyways, but for this setup, a single spring pack racing spring is perfectly fine. So let me assemble these. These use the stock seats. You take off the old one and you put the same seat on the new one. See, fits nice. So you'll put these back together with the new springs. Don't mix them up, they're kind of hard. So when you're working on the valve, the heads, one goes on this side. Make sure you don't mix up your springs. So if you have a problem or you have a question, just look at the height. They're way different. So let me finish these up and then I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so you can see the new valve seals. Springs are in, retainers. So it's how that tool works. You bolt it down to the factory spot where the rocker arms bolt on, and then you turn this one down, brings the springs out, pull the springs out, the keepers out, then you go ahead and put the new springs, the retainers, and then you can put your new keepers, and then all you do is just back out, and yeah, I like to hold them because if not they bounce around. So you just back out, and let's see if I can. That's it. And the tool's off. That's it. Spring is on. So I'm just going to clean up the surface that meets to the head and throw them on. There's just a quick view of the timing cover on. I cleaned up the block a little bit. So if you go back at the video, you'll see how dirty it was on this side and the top. So brand new lifters are on with the brand new lifter trays. And new head gaskets are on, ready to go. So this is just a visual of what it's going to look like before the heads go on. All right, so a little snap forward here. We have the heads already on, the valve covers already on, the rockers, the push rods, all the accessories, the coil packs, the wires plugged in, got the air box on, the radiator. He brought some new silicone hoses. I threw those on. You can't see them. One's down there, one's over here, the upper hose. Here I had to do a bypass because the throttle body doesn't have the coolant pipe in or out. So I just finished assembling the fast intake. You got to be a little bit careful because it is a little tedious job. So had to assemble the idler control valve, the TPS sensor, mount this, make sure it was okay. But before that, this doesn't come completely done. So you have to take it apart, drill where you're gonna apply your map sensor, if it's gonna be in the front or if it's gonna be in the back. And then I had to install rails and injectors. They give you new O-rings for the fast that fit better, and hardware. So he bought some 36-pound injectors, I believe, from FIC, fuel injection connection. Man, I have the box there. I should check. But usually when you're going to use a fast intake on an LS1 car, the factory fuel rails don't work. So you need to get an LS2 rail or the fast rails that they offer. So if you're going to use a stock LS1 injectors, they're too tall. And I spoke about this on another video where I did an atomic MSD. You're going to need spacers. So he ordered injectors EV1, so they plug into the factory harness. And it doesn't require the spacer that goes in between each mounting point for the rail. So they go in, they sit snug. Luckily, it fit perfect. The rail has clearance over the intake. So this should be a direct connect now. So it's got the little evap purge valve. We got the hose for the catch can, and then from there it goes to the valve covers. Got a throttle bracket for the car, and then the cable. So I'm gonna throw this on here, but first I gotta build the little PCV system. The original ones, they get all nasty. So this one goes here. I gotta get an elbow, and it goes to a T, and then from the T it goes to the valve cover, and this part is what goes to the catch can. So I gotta go to the store and get a couple elbows so I can make one, because the original ones, they get where is it? I wish I had the piece here. I lost it. Oh, here it is. The original ones, it uses this, which works pretty good. It's 2 in, 1 out. So it'd be from the valve cover to valve cover, and then this one and this one connect to each other's valve cover, and then this one goes to the front of the intake on the stock one, which is here on the side. But this thing gets all gooey and gummy. As you can see, it's pretty bad. So this will create a vacuum leak with time, and or it won't let air pass through. So gonna get a makeshift elbow that I'm gonna make, because these, if you buy them like OEM, they're kind of pricey, and then you end up with the same thing. So I like to use nice rubber hose that lasts forever and do that. So let me go to the store and I'll assemble the PCV system on the back of the engine coming around for the catch can, and then I'll throw the intake on and we should be good. Okay, so here's my PCV tubing system. So this goes to the driver valve cover, and right here is where the original Y was. So you just get a hose. You can clamp them, you don't really need to. The hoses are really tight on there. So you get a T, you get a hose, an elbow. Both these elbows, I got them at the store. This end right here goes to the passenger back rock valve cover, and this one goes to the side of the intake over here, or in this case, it would go like this. In this case, and then it will hose to the side of the intake, but in this case, we're gonna run that to a catch can, from the catch can to the intake. So let me put this on. You can order the original ones, but every time I've messed with them, they just break. So let me put this on and show you what it looks like. There it is. So it goes here on the valve cover, and it goes to the back to a T or a Y. One goes to this side of the valve cover, and the other side just sticks out right there with a hose that'll go to the catch can, or from the catch can to the intake. Right here, there's a hose factory with a PCV valve that goes to the side of the intake. So that's not going to be used no more. So right here, originally the Y sits here in this area right behind the intake, so it gets hot here. It's back out of the way. It's not bothering nobody, and it won't get squashed with the fast intake. So when I go back, I just got to connect this for the AC vents. It's a vacuum map sensor, and should be good to go. Okay, so we got the car on. Josh is here giving us a little tune so we can idle it and drive it to the muffler shop. Also, so we can check coolant and check oil before we go to the dyno tomorrow morning. Everything's on. Fast intake is on. Custom little catch can is on. Fuel injectors are on. Everything seems to be running good. So far it's been running for about 5 minutes. So just checking temperatures, make sure oil pressure stays, and just prep it up for the dyno tomorrow. I also got to take it to the muffler shop and get the white pipe welded before I go to the dyno. So sounds pretty good. Okay, it's about 9 o'clock in the morning, and we're gonna head out to the muffler shop and get the exhaust put on. See if we can keep the car on. Alright, it's gonna be a long ride. A loud ride, mostly. We head to the muffler shop, get the exhaust on, and then head out to Josh in a little bit. The cleanest muffler shop I've ever been to. These guys always sweep their floors. There's no tools anywhere on the floor. The parking lot's clean. And they come dressed up real nice. These guys are always nice, tucked in, wearing boots. Tenorios muffler shop here in San Juan. So 324. This one. From 260 to 324. There we go. 332, 350 torque. Everyone's gonna be telling me that that's what the stock Trans Am makes. What are you talking about? We don't know, bro. It's a V6 making 300 horsepower. Okay, so I had to cut off the video after the dyno. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it started to knock again, just like in the beginning of the video. If you guys remember the first, hold on. If you guys remember the first dyno session, after the dyno session, it created a little lifter knock. What I assumed is a lifter knock. So we pulled everything apart, as you saw, and then everything was fine up until, again, the dyno. When I cut off the video, there was a really bad knock again, and it sounded just like a lifter. So I came back, I changed the rocker arms, because that's the only part of the valve train that I haven't touched, which is the rocker arms and the that's it. I changed lifters, springs, push rods. So I'm thinking it's deeper than that, like something else is going on. I mean, you guys saw when I was talking on the video how I noticed that the heads had been worked on. I noticed that the engine had been worked on, and further on into this little job, I noticed that there's a lot of stuff that had been touched that's not original. And I'm just concerned that we jumped too far with the heads and cam without having to. I should have just pulled the motor out, honestly. I really should have just pulled the motor out, and I should have just checked the pan and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to figure out what happened before the guy bought it and before we started working on it. So unfortunately, it's got a lifter knock. I'm assuming, again, these are new lifters, Cammotion. It could be the lifters. It could be a poor quality lifter from Cammotion. I'm not knocking on them, but this is the first time I've ever used them. And I usually get Texas Speed lifters. I mean, that, or it may not be a lifter. It might be something else going on. So there's going to be a part 2 to this video. Right now, we're back. I'm going to talk to the customer. I'm kind of disappointed with the horsepower numbers too. It doesn't make sense to me, but there's a lot of factors on why that is. So for all we know, this isn't even the original 98 LS1 motor, and it's some other tired motor that he's unaware of. So he bought the car used, and from what I've seen, this motor has been out before, so it's likely the original motor broke and they put this one in, and there's a lot of stories to it. We don't know, but we're gonna have to find out the hard way, and that's what we're doing. We're gonna pull the engine out, and we're gonna do inspections ourselves, and might as well throw a converter in it, do the new exhaust, and shit, maybe even change the heads and stuff like that while we're on it. So part 2 coming up soon. This video has to end here, and we're gonna do another one with pulling the motor and continuing this unfortunate event that happened to us. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe. I know it's a longer video than usual, but I'm trying to get more into detail. But thank you for coming, and we'll see you on the next one.